Alright fellas, it's Eric Bugenhagen, aka Dr. Density, better known as Mr. Sizzle, reporting in here to talk about the most highly anticipated but never replicated series in the frickin' YouTube universe, and that's Dick Del Hagen's Dirty Watch-Alongs, okay? And I'm gonna talk about Jeff's latest video here, like the internet hates me, or something like that. And I have to talk about it because I have Rick De La Stick is on the thumbnail. So you bet your freaking buns if there's ever a video I'm going to watch with you fellas, it's this one. Now, the wife and daughter are going to come home in about 25 minutes, so I don't know if I have time to watch everyone because, as you know, it takes me about 45 minutes to get through 5 minutes of content. So let's just talk about the key bullet points here. And why, Ricky, why are you talking about this? Like, why are you being such a hater? Guys, well, you're going to be surprised by what I'm going to say here. Am I going to be a hater? I don't think so. And I'll be honest, I'll be freaking frank. If you let me be freaking frank with you for a second, I can look back at every video that I've made, critiquing. I made a lot of Jeff ones, critiquing his tier rankings. I made other ones on, the science-based community. And for the most part, I'm not always, Menno Henselman's. I like his stuff, If anything, I'm quite the anti-hater for Menno Henselman. Because he'll see something, he'll see a study and all that, but he'll still be like, you know what, I still think that's a load of horse crap, And I like that because it's just like you have a conclusive result from a study, but at the end of the day, you also have common logic, okay? I just don't like the stuff where it's like, well, the study says this, so we're going to go all freaking in on this, right? And I think this video is going to sum it up perfectly of that fanboying over singular techniques, intensity techniques, is never really the answer, right? It's all these techniques, any way to train, however you want to go about it, they're all freaking tools in the box. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you do, it's how you freaking do it. It doesn't matter if you're doing long range, short range, full range, it's the freaking gusto and the cojones that you're bringing to your sets. And I know they didn't even do a study on, short range partials, but I'd be willing to bet, man, I'd be willing to bet that I'll get, similar growth if I'm going to horsecock a partial in the short range on bench press because I can do way more freaking weight and I can do it like a safer manner too. And I can push myself beyond my limits in this partial range of motion where it's like, whether you do it here, or you do the whole freaking thing. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you do. It's just the fact that you bring it day in and day out with intensity and gusto and heart and soul, okay? And the thing that drives me insane about all of it is everyone's trying to find a silver bullet in the training. Well, this is the way. This is how you're going to become Herculean with this silver bullet. And it's like, brother, it's just... No, it's a freaking tool in the box, man. You know what I mean? Like, I think the best approach is just do it all, man. Do full range of motion, do short range, do long range partials, or short range partials, long range partials. Just mix it all, right? Get the best of everything. Milk those suckers, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, let's watch the video and we can get more into the nitty gritty. Wait, Jack, bro, you seriously have no idea what you're talking about. Dude, stop lying to people. You don't even look like someone who knows anything about real muscle growth. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I don't know if this is a real comment or if he typed this himself, fake. Listen, all the stretching BS is just another way for you to stay relevant. Okay, I don't know. I don't even know if this is a real comment. But to say he doesn't know anything about real muscle growth is also absurd, right? There's a reason that he's got, whatever, I don't know, 4 or 5 million followers and stuff, and it's because he'll say some solid stuff. The thing that I like, that I don't like about it, and the only reason that I guess really lean into the anti-science, but I'm not anti-science. I love science. But I guess if it had to be bro science versus science-based training, I don't know. I mean, I see myself in the middle. But the thing is, like, just trying... Anyways, I think it's just leaning into so much that only these long lengthened partials are the silver bullet. And how do we do that with the best exercises? It's like the reason my jimmies are floating, you know what I'm saying, is because like when he makes those tiers, it's like, hey, deadlifts aren't good because it's not a big range of motion with a stretch and you know what I mean? Like it's like these are tried and true classics. Or like bench press isn't S tier, pull-ups aren't S tier and all that. And then it's all cables and machines. And I think for decades, we all have an understanding that for the most part, yes, cables and machines are great. They're effective. They're great for the icing on the cake. But if you want to build true size and strength, not you know what I'm saying, not like a freaking, listen. The problem is with this is that the people that a lot of times that you see training with like the cables and machines and all that, like are, you know, IFBB pros and everything. It's, oh, these guys do it too. But guys, this is almost a different physiology. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's a different physiology. A lot of these guys could grow doing anything. You know what I'm saying? They're going to grow just eating a granola bar. You know what I'm saying? So just because a lot of these guys do it, like, oh man, this gets me just, my lats have gotten just so jacked and wide since incorporating the stretch squeeze. It doesn't mean that, you know, Jimothy Pencilneck in 9th grade is going to do that stuff and become rotund and bulbous. Like, he needs to build a foundation, real strength and size. And for the most part, with real human physiology, you don't just become Herculean in size without building respectable strength too. So that thing is like you can't just stray from the path of the real exercises. Overhead press, dips, bench press, squats, deadlifts, all that kind of stuff. And the thing that's floating my jimmies that I'm spinning my wheels around to get to the argument in the first place is a lot of times with these rankings, it's like, oh, you know, bench press is good, you know, it's B tier, maybe A tier, is that like this, you know, freaking Atlantis, you know, cable chest press is like superior for the stretch. And it's like, brother, at the end of the day, man, stretch, it's great. Full range of motion is great. We've known this for freaking forever. That like full range of motion is great. And like when you add a deficit, like a cambered bench bar, you add a little bit range of motion, cash freaking money. When you're doing a deadlift and you do it on a deficit, you add a little bit more freaking range of motion, cash money. You know, doing squats, ass to grass squats, cash freaking money. We know this, you know? It doesn't mean that you have to go all in and put all your freaking eggs in this one basket, right? There's still a lot of value in doing the short range of motion stuff too, like partials. You know what I mean? Like, just drives me freaking nuts. Anyways, but then the people that are like going such the extreme, like, you don't even know what you're talking about. You didn't build a single ounce of muscle in your life, Jeff. It's like you guys are just as delusional, all right? It's just, we're on, on a freaking spectrum, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, why? It's just not all or nothing, brother. Let's meet in the middle, dude. Let's meet in the middle.
Apparently.
Oh!
On the record for at least the last year or two, saying that the stretch part of the lift is more important than the contracted part of the lift. If you watch me at all, you've heard me say this.
How does an exercise make it into the top?
So I have three criteria.
I don't know.
The first is high tension and high stretch. If I pull from here, I'm getting so much more of a...
Dude, like this is what I'm talking about, man. Like, yes, and this is where the flack comes in. So like, if I pull from here, and then I think we watched this video before. I mean, I don't know. Is that like, anyways? There's some sort of like the row with a cable, like that. I don't care what your argument is. Just because you have a bigger stretch with this cable does not make it superior to like a dumbbell row. Just because you can't get quite the same, you know, twisting stretch. And that's just from decades of people horsecocking weights and be like, okay, this is cash money. This is good. It's just icing on the cake finisher or a nice little warm up or getting the blood flowing, you know, getting the lat feeling juicy. But it's time to get down to business, get serious, and horsecock some serious steel. You know, a lot of people say, but you can horsecock serious steel with science-based training too. And this is where the whole freaking land of confusion sets in. There's too many people, too many places, making too many problems. Yeah, and not enough love go round. Can't you say this is the land of confusion? Totally forgot what I was talking about. Frick! The hell was I talking about? I forgot. I'm sorry, guys.
Hot stretch. You're going to get this big stretch here.
God damn it. Okay, well that's, anyways, this is my point. So yes, this is like an S tier exercise. What the hell was I talking about? The land of confusion? God damn it, that's a great point too. A really good point. I can't remember.
I'm all on the stretch waves these days, but the thing is, not everyone agrees with me.
Well, also,
Science-based lifting has lost.
he's all on the stretch waves these days, and that's another great point that people bring up from time to time again. It's like, brother, but you built your freaking physique, very respectable size and mass and strength. You built that not doing this like over sensationalized horse crap like these movements. Like, you know what I'm saying? Have you built more size and strength doing this than you did back when you were more about like just, squats and deadlifts and bench press and like real stuff? All right, just remember the freaking point with the land of confusion. People say, but Eric, you can horsecock serious steel with science-based training too. And like, let's not get it freaking twisted, guys. I'm not saying you can't train hard with whatever, mindset. That's the most important thing in the end of the day anyways. Whatever you bring freaking gusto and fire, energy, enthusiasm to, yeah, that's going to get you the most gains. What are you the most excited to do? That's what you should freaking do. Okay? But my point is, when I say stuff's easy, like, right, because I'm saying, like, the science-based shit's easy. I'm talking about, like, these S-tier exercises for the most part. You think a half kneeling cable row, like, you might be trying hard, like, putting hard, like, yeah, I tried really hard. It doesn't mean this exercise is hard. You're trying hard on an exercise that by nature is not hard. An exercise that is hard by nature is like horse cocking a seriously heavy dumbbell because you know what I'm saying? There's more, it's like fighting your body. It's like you either rip this up or it rips your arm out of the socket. You know what I'm saying? Heavy deadlifts. Like, you have to hoist this with as much freaking physiological oomph as you can, or this shit's gonna break your back. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna herniate some freaking discs. So like, that's hard. An exercise is hard when you have to, it's do or die. Like, do it well, do it hard, do it heavy, and if you don't, you will get hurt. That's a hard exercise. Any of the stuff laying flat, face flat down on the floor, any cable stuff, any of that kind of stuff, for the most part, it ain't hard. Okay? I know you can put effort into it, but by nature, it's not a hard exercise. Kind of the same thing with the machine. You can try hard, but it's not an exercise because the machine's doing half the work for it. It's already stabilizing the weight. You're locked in. You're sitting on a Ferrari seat doing the exercise. It's a very comfortable exercise. So yeah, you can bring intensity to it, but by nature, that's not hard stuff, right? Whereas a hard exercise that we can all agree on is like an overhead press. That's hard, where your brain feels like it's going to explode. Where you have to tense with every fiber in your body. That's a hard exercise. So that's my point. When I say train hard, that's my point. Hooey! Science-based lifting has lost the plot.
It's the plot. Because recently, every science-based giant creator has been obsessed with the stretch.
This new wave of training that everyone's in is the stretch.
Do you think that's...
But you know what? And that's... listen. Kudos to Jeff for putting my thumbnail or my face on his thumbnail, incorporating that snippet of me. I guess I'm seeing this kind of like his anti-approach, but I don't agree with that. And this is, a lot of people attack me like, oh, but you're straw man. It's a straw man argument against him. Like, that's exactly what you're doing with me right here. That's straw man. I just said this new fad of training is about the stretch. And I do agree, it's a fad. Because it's a hyper obsession with this one phase of the lift. And at the end of the day, we've all known for the longest amount of time that it's like, just do it all, man. Do full range of motion, do the freaking short, the partial, do the freaking partial on the long range. Like, do all that kind of stuff. It's been money forever, man. Pin presses are gonna get you strong. You get super strong with your pressing, you're gonna build decent size. And again, I'm talking about people with the physiology of a real human being, not of a freaking silverback gorilla, if you catch my drift. You get what I'm saying here? Like, you can't, that's like where the lines really start to get blurred. It's like, well, this specialist 500-pound muscle-bound freak only does this stuff. It's like, oh, so that's why he's a 500-pound muscle-bound freak, is because he's focused on the stretch. You know what I'm saying? You just gotta look at any actual athletes. That's who you should really look for to see what works and what doesn't. You get what I'm saying? Because in athletics, like you have, like for certain sports where you have to get bigger, they have to get bigger, right? And how do they get bigger for the most part? They train like heavier and harder. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying you have to go heavy to get big, but it kind of goes hand in hand. Like if you freaking get stronger, you're going to get bigger. There's no two ways about it, man. Honestly, I would say the best stuff to look into is like what do like college strength and conditioning programs do in the off season for football, for instance, stuff like that. Because that's like your freaking job is on the line, right? Scholarships are on the line. Perform or get the frick out. You know what I'm saying? Coach these athletes, get them strong, get them big, or get the frick out. A lot of the freaking, like everything you see on here, like online fitness and all that, like for the most part, it is grasping at straws for new trends because you want hot new content. And I'm not saying that's what Jeff's doing here. Like he saw, there's a couple studies that prove that this is the way to go. He tried it. He really liked it. Maybe he didn't lose any size, or maybe he even gained a little bit of size. He's like, yeah, I'm freaking sold, okay? But at the end of the day, it's just this one, like we're grasping at straws. This one concept is the silver bullet of training. When we've been, seriously, athletes have been horse-cocking serious steel for decades beyond decades and decades. All this information is out there. And again, if you're looking for anyone on how to get big and strong as quickly as possible, I think that basically just like football strength and conditioning programs, because that shit ain't fake. They're not fabricating, sensationalism of new fads. They can't for the most part, because if they really believe in this and their team's performance suffers, they're freaking their asses out the door. You get what I'm saying? And, when I was in the college athletics, right, I wrestled for the University of Wisconsin, the Wisconsin Badgers. So a Division I, Big Ten program. And here's the funny thing about it. Because wrestling is a non-revenue sport, they didn't give a rat's patoot about our strength and conditioning program. So what did they have us do? They just gave us one of the assistant football strength and conditioning coaches. And what did he have us do? Well, he didn't give a rat's patoot about the wrestling program either. I'm sure he wanted us to succeed because it was his job. But at the end of the day, what did he have us do? He just had us do the football program, right? And he changed it up a little bit for the guys cutting weight. But for like people bumping up to heavyweight and stuff, it was just everything the football program does as well for the most part. Because we want to get big, we want to get strong. So what do? We did squats, we did bench press, we did cleans, right? We did weighted pull-ups, we did sled pushes and all that. And you say, but sled pushes, there's no eccentric phase, you're not going to build any mass. But guys, it's like you're looking at each thing. It's not just a one thing. Well, this thing will build me mass, this thing will build mass. No, it's like freaking horsepower. Like if you're pushing sleds and you're getting freaking more horsepower, and then you go to the squat rack and you're fucking hoisting more and more tonnage on the squats. Like you're gonna get bigger. And the same thing, like for some reason we didn't do deadlifts, but I get it as well, because a lot of programs kind of do that. They're just the explosiveness. They do more like cleans and stuff. I personally think a deadlift, like once I started doing more deadlifts, my performance in athletics skyrocketed, and I put a lot of size on just from incorporating that alone. So that's why I will die on my sword defending that deadlifts are an absolute mass builder, right? I'll die on my sword for that battle. Anyone that tells me otherwise hasn't hit deadlifts very hard, very seriously, or hasn't been plateaued, right? Because when I did that, I was already training for 10 years at that point. My size, my strength was already plateaued, and the only thing that changed was I started incorporating heavy horse cockery with deadlifting, and I was like, holy freaking buckets, man. Just night and day strength gains and 10 pounds added just from that alone. And you can believe me, you can't, but why would I make that shit up, right? It's not like I have stock in deadlifts, right? I really don't. I hadn't done them for 10 years, and I started doing that, and it just changed my freaking life. And I was like, this is one of the greatest exercises of all time that can have seriously that much carryover to athletic performance, size, obviously strength, and then with the increased deadlift horsepower, like the pull-ups became better, right? Heavier pull-ups, and with obviously all that, just the fucking girth all around just is improved. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, that's my point. When we had, our time in the weight room, because that's another thing too, you're dealing with athletes. They got their sport, which is already a full-time job, and then they got class on top of that, and if they're traveling to competitions and stuff, it's a freaking hectic schedule, right? You don't have time to dilly-dally, slap dick in the gym, and like, oh, this feels pretty good, let me try that. It's like, no, get in, get out, do your warm-up, horsecock some serious steel, suck down your mass gainer or whatever, protein shakes, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Suck that all down, get some cherry juice in, right? Like that's where you then go eat a big meal afterwards. Like it wasn't rocket science, right? All that kind of stuff for the most part to me, that's figured out already. But when you're putting me in this, as I'm saying I'm anti-stretch and all that, that's where it's like, no, brother, you freaking fine picked or you combed through a video, you saw, oh, this goes with my narrative that Rick De La Stick is anti-science. Like, that's fucking horse shit, man. I'm not anti-science by any means. I've just done a lot of this stuff already, and I'm telling you what works and what, for the most part, will get you some results, yeah, but it's not going to work as well as just horse and serious steel, right? And the stretch, like, how many times have I made videos? You can go back, I have like thousands of videos up too. Plenty of times have I done like, cambered bar bench or deficit deadlifts or any of that, like, just full range of motion stuff. Or if we can add a range of motion here or there, let's freaking do it as well. But to over obsess with it, there ain't no silver bullet, man. You know what I'm saying? And I think that only focusing on one range of motion, right, versus, I know that in this study, it's partial versus full range of motion, but I think you also should have put in like a short range of motion as well. And with that being said, if you're going to put this in the study, I don't know if they're going to do it again or whatever, you better freaking up that intensity to match what the freaking body can handle in this range of motion, because you can hoist some seriously tremendous load, like on bench press, for instance. If you can bench 405 full range of motion or 405 pumping reps like that, then if you're only going from here to here, you could probably horsecock, damn near 500 pounds, okay? So it's like, but the stimulus to fatigue ratio, it's like, yeah, but there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. You just plan that, It's going to take too long to recover. It's like, well, then just freaking plan accordingly, but get your body able to handle those giant loads. I still think there's definitely something to be said for that. And like, I remember back in the day, there was like power factor training. I was all sold on that, where it's just purely short range of motion. So it was the exact same thing, and it was science-based training, power factor training. They had this equation of this math formula, and you plug your numbers in, and like, I moved 27 trillion pounds during my workout today. Unbelievable, right? And I bought it, and I did it, all of it too. And you get really strong at the partial short range of motion, but you don't get any stronger in the lengthened positions. And then if you go on Amazon, you look it up, all the reviews for the most part too, it's like, yeah, I got really strong in those tiny, couple inch movements, but I was just as strong at the end. Which is funny because it's almost identical to this. Like, yeah, I got strong or whatever, but the results are almost the exact same as full range of motion. So at the end of the day, it's like, which one's better? Is the freaking long lengthened partials superior to full range of motion? It's like, no, they're probably very similar, just like how if you're doing a short range partial, it's probably very similar as well, right? And don't come at me with the science, like all the range of motion, like this is all bullshit, it's not figured out yet. Like for the longest time, when I was doing wall sits and all that, I'd be like, oh, stick Ricky, but isometrics don't build any size. But then we just had this video the other day uploaded with Menno Henselmans where he's like, there's actually proof, God damn it! Whew, come on. Yes. Yes.
Harvest season.
There's actually proof now, there's some scientific data that isometrics do in fact build or improve hypertrophy. It's like, well, freaking A, man. That's why you can't just go off of, well, this study says this, so I'm never doing it again. I'm not incorporating it. And at the end of the day, you're doing yourself a disservice too, because you're missing out on the benefits of isometrics, right? You want to talk about people, snapping, tearing pecs and all that. Well, you know what? Incorporate some freaking isometrics into your training from time to time, right? When I had rehab physical therapy for my patellar tendon, one of the things I did a ton was like wall sits, right? Because it's one of the things that can, improve tendon strength. And like at the end of the day, guys, listen, people are talking about optimal, right? Like, this doesn't build size and this doesn't, what's optimal is never getting hurt, right? You get an injury, your body's going to automatically, like I'm talking surgery, like a serious injury, you get cut open with a blade, your body's you're shedding 20 pounds, like in a week. Your body just goes total, freaking catabolic overload, So you want to talk about freaking gains? Don't get hurt. That's the ultimate killer of gains. And what can you do to prevent that? Well, maybe just throw in some isometrics from time to time. Or, you know what I mean? Find ways to freaking work the tendons as well. So work the muscle, not the joint. Well, how about we do freaking both? Because you need both, right? The problem when you have giant muscles and weak tendons and weak joints is that then you get injured. And when you get injured, it's hard, man. I had my surgery. I had my knee surgery. And this wasn't through training. So that people are like, oh, man, how'd you tear it with... This is a bullshit, stupid athletic stunt or whatever. Where my tendon blew out. And I regret it. And it, honestly, it fricked. You know, I'll be PG. It fricked my strength and everything. It just fricked me big time. Right? Like, I'm still trying to get back to where I was with squatting. And this was over 2 years ago I had surgery, April 2022. And I'm still not where I used to be. So if you want to you want to be optimal, right? Think about that. Don't just think about big, juicy muscles. Think about freaking, joint strength too. But at the end of the day, people are like, well, I don't care. I just want to be all show and no go. We've had this argument a million times. We're 45 seconds into the video, 26 minutes into mine. Holy buckets. I think we just skip right through it. I don't think we need to. We saw Rick De La Stick. We saw him kind of, man, I don't know. I mean, I get it. But here's the thing, man. I don't know. We don't need to watch all this. This is just his study he did. If I can summarize it, and I'd be like, damn, Stick, for you to summarize a fucking 15-minute video is going to take 7 hours. No, let's cut the riffraff real fast. Let's just get right to it. Full round, lengthened partials. Okay. What was this one? I don't even know what the hell this is. This was a different study. Basically, in his study, okay, here it is. All right, here's the results of their study. You know what's funny about this, too? Milo Wolf, I think it's like Dr. I don't know, Pack, something. Excuse my ignorance. But anyways, he's got the freaking Kyriakos Grizzly shirt on. Okay, and listen, yes, the guy's hefty. He's got a ton of rotundness to him, but just a huge ball of mass. And all he really does, for the most part, is zero range of motion stuff. And he's an absolute horse cock strong. And I know this is where the lines get blurred. It's like, I don't care about strength. I just want size. But again, if you don't have the freaking physiology of a silverback gorilla, you got to get strong to get big for the most part, right? Like, look at athletes. That's always the best case we can give. I think that's how we got to start looking at stuff. Don't look at Instagram and YouTubers and all that. Don't look at Instagram and YouTubers. Don't look at all this fake online horse crap. Look at athletes. Look at the ones that are, jacked, and then look at their numbers that they're moving. Are they strong, right? And that's kind of the proof is in the pudding. Oh, shit, they're big and they're strong. So they kind of go hand in hand. I've never seen before, like in all my years in athletics and stuff, where someone's just jacked and then they are, pitifully pencil-necked weak,
Okay, so I mean...
All right, so this is their study there. So 6.6% and whatever gains with full round and 5.9 or something like that. And it's, statistically, it's an insignificant difference. So that's basically the point. And I think it goes along with everything I've been saying. And it's not even to toot my own horn. It's just for you guys. Like, that's why I make all these videos in the first place. Like, I don't have an agenda. I'm not pushing stuff that I can sell. You know what I'm saying? I'm not pushing strength training or anything like that. All I ever push, or not strength training, of course I push, freaking idiot. I'm talking programs. I'm not selling you programs and all that kind of stuff. I just want to give the freaking real world, and it's based off of my experience too. That's why it's like a lot of people ask me all the time, well, my son, I just got this question. My son wants to gain, 40 pounds for football this off season. I literally got this question asked me the other week. And it's like, well, first and foremost, do you do any personal training? And I was like, no, I don't do that stuff. I used to do that back then, but I don't do it anymore. But if I can give you any golden tidbit piece of advice, it's that, yes, is he already lifting hard and heavy? Perfect, okay. I would assume for football they have to. Just, you know, the tried and true classic that's been around forever, works really well to gain quick size, gallon of whole milk a day, all right? Anyone ever that I would tell about to do that back in the day, I'm not even bullshitting, would gain roughly like 20 pounds. But it's just fat. It just, guys, it doesn't fucking matter, man. You want to get big and strong, you're going to gain a little bit of fat. This whole, like, you could gain all this muscle mass with zero body fat. It's like, what fucking fantasy, man? What fantasy? Sure, maybe you could, but it's going to take you 27 years to gain that same, you know what I mean, freaking dense tissue that theoretically you might be able to gain. And I don't care if people say, it's like, oh, it's impossible to gain more muscle than that. I don't know, man. I just know that this is the way that things have been done forever. It's the shit that I've seen too. It's easy to burn body fat for the most part, in my experience. It's easy to lose weight. It's fucking hard to gain real muscle. It's hard to gain real muscle. It's hard to gain size, okay? And that's not for the people that have been trying to lose fat and all that. Like, I get it. Like, some people gain mass and stuff easier than others. Some people lose fat easier than others. But for the most part, it's, you know, it's pretty simple equation, right? To get stripped, sliced, diced, and freaking hard as nails. And that's just cut the calories back, start incorporating some freaking conditioning. You know what I mean? That's, we got that figured out. It's not rocket science. Whereas the lifting, it's a bit harder. Like, if for a, you know, football player kid, you want 20 pounds. You want to gain 20 pounds of horse mass, of horsepower. That's a little harder to do than to lose 20 pounds. You know what I'm saying? So, again, the only shit I'm ever spewing out there is the stuff that I've done time and time. I've, you know, seen it, done it, lived it. And that's why at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, I mean, long lengthened partials, like, yeah, incorporate them by all means. It's simple, right? Do full range of motion, especially if you're using like hammer strength machines. Like, just today I was fucking, you know, freaking dilly-dallying, dicking around at the gym because I did low bar squats yesterday. Just tried them out for the first time. Just to see, like, oh, what can I do? So today my elbows were just inflamed up the wazoo and just joints felt horrible. So I'm like, let me just dick around in these hammer strength machines. And with those, it's like, oh, wow, these partials, these long length partials are really easy on these machines, you know, because it's a freaking lever. Like, every machine's going to have a different leverage. So, like, on those machines, it's freaking great, man, to do full range of motion. And you can't burn out. You can pump out the freaking lengthened partials, right? Of course, you'd be a stupid idiot not to do that. But also, that doesn't mean that you should only do this, right? We know, time and time again, man, just do it all, brother. And it's not hard to incorporate all of it. Or once you can't push any more weight like this, then cut the range of motion, right? So for instance, like benching, right? Do full range of motion, boom, right? Do full range of motion, boom. You can't, say you're training with something, oh, you can't do it anymore, whatever. You know what you can do? Block, do a board press or something. Lead FTS shoulder saver or something. Cut the range of motion, horse cock, serious weight in the shortened range of motion. Boom, you can't do any more. Let's strip some weight now and freaking, you know what I mean? AMRAP that sucker in the freaking lengthened partial position, right? You do all that, man. No stone is left unturned. But if you're just gonna go one length versus the other length versus, and it's like, what are you doing? Why? You're just sabotaging yourself. So, but the same results. Is it the same result? I mean, this is over, I don't know, I forget how long the study was. But yeah, it's not significant in this regard, but I mean, over a long period of time, does it become significant? I don't know, and I'm not even saying one way or the other, but I'm just saying, like, to only be trained like in this or like in this, it just doesn't seem like, don't you want to train your body like the way it's supposed to move? Like, if your joints move like this, shouldn't we just kind of train them in how they're designed to work? That's just how I see it too. And it's just, with each range of motion, you can give it different stimulus.
Is it?
Whoa! I think
Is it
that's
safe
it. I think that's it, man. I don't really know. Let's see what he says about summarizing it.
Having sat with the data for a while now, I think you can look at it two ways. You could say that lengthened partials didn't work any better than full range of motion, so if you love doing a full range of motion, go for it. Or you could say that you can get the same gains as full range of motion by doing half reps, as long as they're in the stretch half. If you were to come to me 2 years ago and say,
hey man, and it just kind of goes back to like, just do whatever you enjoy doing, right? There's no best program, and that's kind of this. I think that's the only reason that this shit drives me insane. right? And that the fact that they're throwing the really, the bread and butter, barbell curl, F tier for the cable, front over leaning, twisting curl, you know what I'm saying? It's just that kind of stuff. That drives me bonkers too. But it's just like, oh no, this is the superior way to train. It's like, brother, there ain't no superior, okay? What's superior for you, maybe you love it. Maybe you love training like that, and then that is superior because you really enjoy it and it's exciting. But you know what's going to happen a year from now? You're going to stop being as enthusiastic about it. You're going to find it less exciting. And you're going to be like, you know what? Full range of motion, well, that actually feels pretty good. Or God forbid, this short range of motion. Actually, I like this. I can horsecock some serious weight. Okay. At the end of the day, brother, there ain't no perfect program. There's no perfect silver bullet. It's just like. The only perfect program is the program that you want to do and you're enthusiastic about it, okay? Something that makes you want to get your ass to the gym and do the best that you freaking can, one-upping yourself. And for some people left in the comments like, oh, damn, Stick, I really enjoy doing this. And actually, I'm kind of crazy like that. I like to freaking analyze each detail. And I said, brother, good. Then you identified what freaking, floats your jimmies. You know what I'm saying? But for me, this shit would drive me insane. It's not for me. So for you to tell me that this is the perfect way for me to train, I'm bamboozled, bewildered, and befuddled. You know what I'm saying? Because I know for a freaking fact that ain't true. Because I love going to the gym. I go to the gym every single day. It's the first thing I think about when I wake up. I'm so excited to do it. I love it. I'm always looking for any excuse to just keep freaking working out, wanting to try new stuff. And that's it, man. It's the consistency. It's the enthusiasm. You bring the freaking consistency and the enthusiasm to the gym, you're going to make some pretty damn good progress. So if you got 6.4% versus 5.9%, who gives a shit? That doesn't make a fucking difference in the end. I promise you that. What does is that you show up day in and day out and you give it some freaking effort, right? And whether it's long range, short range, full range, it doesn't fucking matter. I promise you that. So it's whatever you enjoy. And by all means, personally for me, I like doing it all. Throw it all in there. I've had a hell of a time doing short range of motion. Was it suboptimal? Even if research proved that it was suboptimal for hypertrophy, I couldn't care less because I enjoyed doing it. I moved some serious steel. I got satisfaction out of moving 5 more pounds every time I did it or getting 1 more rep. And I freaking grin a smile on my face every time I got to think about going to the gym. And it lit up my day and it made me excited. And, my strength certainly didn't get worse, right? So that's a freaking win in my book. So, again, ain't no perfect program, ain't no perfect anything. You know what I mean? You find what works for you, that's what works for you. We're all different, brother. It's like a freaking diet, man. It's like people saying, oh, I can't believe you eat bread. The gluten! It's like, brother, my body is designed to freaking decimate and destroy gluten. I thrive off of gluten. Just because you can't doesn't mean I can't. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with milk. Oh, the lactose! You know what I mean? Just because you can't handle it doesn't mean I can't handle it. Right? There ain't no perfect diet either for the most part because our bodies are all slightly different. Our physiology is slightly different. So to always coin it, this is the greatest thing ever. This is fucking overhyped sensationalism, in my opinion. Okay? But I want to say that this isn't knocking Jeff. If anything, it's a freaking round of applause to him because he did this and he had a valid idea. You know what I'm saying? I know that this is the greatest thing since sliced bread and I'm going to prove it. And it proved to be not what he thought it was, but he still went ahead and he published it. You know what I mean? He put it up there for the world to see, and maybe he'll find a way to justify it that it's exactly the greatest thing since sliced bread or not. But at the end of the day, he's not hiding it. He's not holding it back. He's putting it all out there, And so also for the people attacking him, that he's an idiot. He doesn't know anything about building muscle and all that. I mean, that's bullshit too. The thing is, he's he's getting in the weeds of figuring out what works and what doesn't. I just think with the freaking spectrum, it's like, brother, it ain't black and white. We gotta stop looking at things like it's black and white. Feel what I'm saying?